Hello, it's me, Maur, again. Today, I'm going to share an example with you all, which is about tongue cancer. So, is tongue cancer related to our heart? Well, in traditional Chinese medicine, the heart is manifested in the tongue. That is to say, as everyone knows, the heart belongs to the fire element among the 5 elements, and the tongue also belongs to fire. The following example will show us that, in fact, we can see this in the Bazi 4 pillars of destiny, especially when it is related to fire. So, apart from the heart, the tongue is also involved. And who is the example? It's Chaofeng. I actually found this out by reading newspapers and old news, and I saw that he had tongue cancer at that time, so I looked into it further. When did the incident happen? It turns out it really is related to fire. Take a look. He was born on January 5th, 1960. His Bazi 4 pillars is year of Jihai, the month is Bingzi, and the day is Renshen. So looking at these 3 pillars and 6 characters, you can see that he should belong to strong water. For strong water, the first useful element is wood, the second is fire, and the third is earth. Of course, the unfavorable elements are metal and water. At this time, he was 49 years old in this particular luck cycle, which is the Wei luck cycle. Now, as everyone knows, Wei, the earthly branch, represents the strongest earth. And what does earth produce? Earth produces metal. So during this luck cycle, the earth was already producing metal. And what does metal do? Metal overcomes water, and water represents his skills. The metal will then generate this water for him, this Bingzi water. If his water element was already strong in December, and then in this luck cycle it gets even stronger, then the imbalance of water becomes even more pronounced. Water is his unfavorable element, right? And isn't metal his primary unfavorable element? So in this luck cycle, earth generates metal, and metal then generates water, making the water even stronger and throwing everything out of balance. There's just too much water, so you need to... Is the fire element okay? If you look at his fire element in his Bazi chart, in these 3 pillars, this Bing fire is actually very weak. Why? Because there's no wood to support this Bing fire. There isn't any, but there's so much water here. So the fire itself is not strong. That's why from the moment he was born, we can already see that his body, which is related to the fire element in the 5 elements, should be weak. Fire represents our heart and blood circulation. Now we also know, yes, that's right. So in 2016, which was the Bing Shen year, right? That's when it was discovered that he had an issue with his tongue. There was inflammation under the tongue. So he went to see a doctor, and the doctor thought there might be a problem, so he asked him to get it checked. It turned out that he was diagnosed with tongue cancer. So you see, 2016 was the Bing Shen year, and Bing Shen year represents fire. But the fire wasn't strong because the fire was sitting on Shin metal, and the metal was very strong. Fire overcomes metal, right? So the fire was weak. So in that year, it means that his fire was already weak. And during this luck cycle, after he was found to have inflammation under his tongue and checked again, it turned out he was diagnosed with tongue cancer. That was in 2017. Look back at November 21st. That was the year of Dingyu in 2017. All right, this fire... Again, it's the same situation. The fire sits on top of metal, so this fire is very weak. Not only that, but the month was Xinhai. So with metal and water, the water is very strong. The day was Renzi, so the whole chart is water. Metal and water, the whole chart is water. So this fire is basically useless. That's why in this year, 2017, she had this surgery. So everyone... You can see that actually in the Bazi 8 characters, when we get to know each of our Bazi, that is, after understanding the relationship between our internal organs and the 5 elements, you'll realize that a lot of things can actually be seen in the Bazi. Of course, at the beginning, you definitely need to start with the Bazi Baby class. The Bazi Baby class teaches us how to construct a Bazi chart, lay out the luck cycles, and determine its strength or weakness. Once you have that foundation, then you can move on to my Bazi Health course. In the Bazi Health course, we'll explain which of the 5 elements each of our internal organs belongs to. Once you know that, When you create a Bazi chart for someone, you'll know, for example, if there's an excess of water or fire. If there's too much water, that relates to our kidneys, our urinary system, our hormones, and our immune system. But having too much isn't good. We need balance. So you need to pay attention to this aspect. On the other hand, if there's too much fire, that corresponds to our heart, blood circulation, high blood pressure, cholesterol, and even stroke. Nowadays, there are all sorts of issues that can arise from this. So here you can use this knowledge to help yourself and also your family members. If you're interested in learning more, you can study with Master Luke Hanglap. He offers a comprehensive Bazi application course as well as advanced courses in Bazi and Feng Shui applications, all available online. If you click on this link, you can choose whichever topic you're interested in learning. But I highly recommend that everyone, it's best to start with the Bazi beginner class as early as possible. Once you have that foundation, it will be much easier to learn everything else later on. All right, that's all for today. I'll share more with you in the next session. Bye-bye.